Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Super Mario needs literally no introduction. He's the most famous video game character of all time, and he's been in some of the most important video games of all time. However, there's just a certain series of Mario games that people don't really seem to like, and that series is the New Super Mario Bros series. The New Super Mario Bros. Series started in 2006 on the Nintendo DS, and since then we've had 4 other installments, including a remake, and they've sold very well. Yet even despite that, the wider Nintendo community doesn't seem to really like this series, and I've never fully understood why. Like, I get that the games look similar, but saying that all 4 games are the exact same is honestly kind of ignorant. So that is why today, I'm going to start talking about the entirety of the New Super Mario Bros. Series, starting with the very first one. New Super Mario Bros. For the DS started as a 5th game in the Super Mario Advance series for the Game Boy Advance, which was a series of ports of SNES Mario games to the Game Boy Advance. The thing I find interesting is that there wasn't really any other SNES Mario games left to port outside of Super Mario Bros. 1, and the original NES version was already playable in the GBA in many ways, so I don't know. Point is, New Super Mario Bros. Eventually became its own thing. It was first unveiled at E3 of 2005. And while the game is clearly pretty early in development, the game is still a breath of fresh air considering the fact that the last 2D Mario game was Super Mario Land 2 6 Golden Coins, which was released all the way back in 1992. New Super Mario Bros. Released on May 15th, 2006 in North America, May 25th in Japan, June 8th in Australia, and June 30th in Europe, and it was a smash hit. To this day, it's the best-selling Nintendo DS game of all time, and it's also the 19th best-selling video game of all time. At the time, it was seen as a fantastic new modern take on the 2D Mario formula, and was hailed as a game that could stand toe-to-toe with the classics such as Super Mario World and Super Mario Bros. 3. However, people kinda just ignore this game nowadays. Why is that? Now, as for my story of the game, well, I got a Nintendo DS Lite around 2010. I never actually got New Super Mario Bros. Until I eventually bought it from GameStop myself a few years ago. I ended up 100%ing the game after a while, but I haven't really touched the game since. So, I'm gonna stop beating around the bush now, and just get into it. Booting up the game leads you to the title screen, and in all honesty, I've always liked the logo style the New Super Mario Bros. Series has. It's like a neat little evolution of the logo from the Super Mario Bros. 1 title screen, and it looks really nice. In all honesty, I can kinda see why having new in your game title's kind of weird, like it's not new anymore. This game came out like almost 2 decades ago. You're given 3 save files, like in the original Super Mario World, and you also get some side mini-games, although they're just ripped straight from Super Mario 64 DS, so I'm not really gonna cover them, because, I mean, they aren't exclusive to this game. Stealing a save file shows you a cutscene showing Bowser Jr. of all people kidnapping Princess Peach, alongside these, like, flies panicking at the castle? I think they're supposed to be toads? But I don't know, I've always thought they were like bees or something. After the small cutscene, we're brought to this like pseudo-world map. It's not really a world map like what we had in Super Mario Bros. 3 and Super Mario World, but instead it's more of like an in-between world map. It's still quite linear, but there's still a few places you can branch out and go to different levels and toad houses. It's kind of hard to explain, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that this is sort of like an in-between between the Super Mario World and Super Mario Bros. 3 world maps, and not having a world map at all, if that makes any sense. Alongside the new returning mushroom houses, there are also a few new types of levels on the world map, including towers, and most notably, cannons. Cannons allow you to skip entire worlds, sort of like how the warp zones allowed you to do a similar thing all the way back in Super Mario Bros. 1. Towers are functionally very similar to mid-castles from Super Mario Bros. 3, functioning as essentially a midway point for each world. Although instead of being a horizontal level, it's a vertical level, hence the tower name. With all that out of the way, let's finally talk about the actual levels. There's around I'd say 8 to 10 levels per world, and each level, minus the mushroom houses and cannons, have 3 uniquely placed star coins hidden to collect. These are essentially a better version of the Dragon Coins in Super Mario World, as they're actually useful this time. While their uses vary between each game, in this game they're used to open up paths on the world map. I think this is a neat idea, as it gives the player a reason to want to collect these things. Like, compared to the dragon coins, like, what did the dragon coins even do? Did they, like, give you a 1-up? I genuinely don't remember. Another new thing this game adds is red rings. When you go through one of these, 8 red coins will appear nearby, and collecting them all before they disappear will earn you a reward, whether that be a power-up or a 1-up. These are a nice little challenge, and can be really useful for you if you need a power-up or a 1-up and spot one of these things. The last new addition I want to touch on is the power-ups, as this game has 3 new ones: the Mega Mushroom, the Mini Mushroom, and the Blue Shell. The Blue Shell is actually pretty cool in my opinion. It allows you to roll around sort of like a kicked Koopa shell, which is actually really useful for breaking open certain walls and the like. It's also just really satisfying to maintain your shell state for a full level, just rolling through everything in your way. Speaking of rolling through everything in your way, the Mega Mushroom. The Mega Mushroom essentially lets you become a giant rampaging monster and allows you to destroy literally everything in your path, even the flagpole at the end of the level. It's not honestly that useful though, as you can't keep it, and it doesn't really do much outside of just being, wow, cool, you're big now. Lastly, there's the Mini Mushroom, which is essentially the exact opposite of the Mega Mushroom. Literally one hit from anything instantly kills you, and you can't even stop on enemies, you have to ground pound in order to kill enemies. However, your hitbox is smaller, which allows you to go inside small pipes and small passageways. You also have a floatier jump, and you can even run on water. Especially how a lot of people don't like this power-up, I actually think this can lead to a lot of really cool challenges and the like. Now, what about Mario's moveset? Well, for this game, Nintendo decided to bring over Mario's moveset from the 3D games, and I actually think it works really well. Wall jumping, triple jumps, ground pounds, they're all here, and they all work really well in a 2D space. Wall jumping alone allows for so many new possibilities, but ground pounding allows for new secrets and the like, and triple jumps allow players who are good enough to reach higher areas. And they're all just so satisfying to use, and they're implemented so naturally into Mario's moveset. It's not all good, unfortunately. One of my main gripes of this game is the controls. Now, before you get all up in arms, I'm not saying the entirety of the controls are bad, just let me explain. You see, Mario controls just fine, like 99% of the time. However, if you land on the very edge of a block, Mario just loses all his momentum. And it's really jarring, and it's also incredibly frustrating. It just feels insanely wrong, and it's actually led to my death in a few places. There's also something weird with the star power-up. You see, when you grab it, you become invincible and faster and blah 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 blah. You know how the star works. However, when you jump, you lose all your gained speed from the star power-up, and it just feels so wrong. There's a few other minor nitpicks I've got for the game, such as how grabbing the top of the flagpole is weirdly janky. Like, this looks like I'll get the 1-up at the top of the flagpole, right? Well, like, that looked like I should have gotten it, but nope. Thankfully, that's not all that big of a deal, as 1-ups are pretty easy to get in this game. I mean, I literally got our infinite 1-up trick in 2 separate levels in my playthrough, including 1-1. Continuing on, each tower and castle has its own boss. While you'll sometimes fight Bowser Jr., most of the time you'll fight these cool, unique bosses, and they're honestly pretty cool. They're still not that hard though, so that's a plus, I guess. Beating them takes you to the next world, and this is where probably my biggest gripe with the game starts to show. You see, in order to access Worlds 4 and 7, you need to beat the castles of World 2 and 5 as Mini Mario. This is just not good game design in my opinion. Remember how I said earlier that the Mini Mushroom allows for cool new challenges? This isn't what I meant. It'd be one thing if these were bonus worlds that weren't a part of the main campaign, but no, these are literally main worlds locked behind the use of the Mini Mushroom, and that's just really stupid in my opinion. I guess this is a good time to bring up what said worlds are. World 1 is a grasslands world and is themed around, obviously, grass. World 2 is a desert world, although there's weirdly enough like 1 or 2 grass-themed levels here. World 3 is a beach world, which focuses on water and sandy levels. World 4 is a jungle world, which focuses on jungle levels of poison. Fun! World 5 is an ice world, and is focused on, well, snow and ice. World 6 is a mountains world, World 7 is a sky world, and World 8 is a lava world. Now, you might be asking, hey, Jordan, why didn't you show what some of these worlds look like? To which I answer, because I literally could not care less to play through all these worlds. You see, there's a glaring flaw with this game's level design, and it's simply the fact that a lot of these levels are just annoying as hell to play through. Like, how is this fair? How do I get up there? How am I supposed to know that this enemy is just gonna pop up there? Why is this only small enough for small Mario? Literally, like, none of these design decisions make any lick of sense. And the whole game is filled with stuff like this. And it just got to a point where I could not care less about fully beating this game. Like, genuinely, the only reason I got footage of World 4 was because I wanted to make that joke about the poison earlier. Not because I thought, hey, this game is fun! I want to beat all the worlds now! That's honestly quite shocking to me, considering the fact modern Mario games are usually very good at avoiding this. Now, am I saying the game's bad? No, not by a long shot. This game still has a rock-solid foundation, and it still has that Nintendo polish and charm that all the mainline Mario games have. And honestly, these issues I had could have very easily have just been one-time things. I mean, I clearly enjoyed the game enough to 100% it on my actual DS, but still, that still doesn't change the fact these issues are still here, and they hurt the overall game experience. Now, there are a few standout things about this game. For instance, the soundtrack. I think the music is very good. Each song gives off vibes of the classic games, while still standing out on their own as great songs. My personal favorites are the athletic and castle themes. And actually the castle theme from this game is my favorite castle theme from the entire series. Like, I would love to hear this song with the same audio and design quality as like the songs from Super Mario Bros Wii. Speaking of castles, the final castle has one of the single coolest gimmicks I have ever seen in a Mario game. You get to literally rotate the entire level around you. That's so cool. Genuinely, how has this never appeared in any Mario game since? Like, literally, I didn't realize I was going through the same area like 2 to 3 times because it just feels so completely different to play through when it's rotated. It's such a good concept. And even besides that, they even brought back these like maze-like sections from Super Mario Bros. 1 for the second half of this level. It's just, God, this final castle is amazing. Unfortunately, the final boss isn't very good in my opinion. It's just like they took the Bowser Jr. fight and the normal Bowser fight and just combined them, which is disappointing considering how cool the other boss fights in this game are. Once you beat the final castle, you get this neat little scrapbook in the credits showing all the levels you've beaten throughout your playthrough. This is honestly such a neat little touch. And even if you rebeat the final castle after beating new levels, those new levels are then added to the scrapbook. Something I feel obligated to mention is that this game has a multiplayer mode, that being the Mario vs. Luigi mode. I wasn't able to get any footage of this as I have literally zero clue how to record multiplayer using Desmo emulator, but it's actually very good. In fact, it's so good that people actually made a modern version of it that you can play nowadays. Let's see how long it takes for Nintendo to shut that down. In terms of post-game content, this game doesn't really have much. Like, it lets you play as Luigi through holding L, R, and A when selecting a save file, but this works even if you haven't beaten the game yet. There's also challenge mode, which does require you to beat the game. This is activated by hitting L, R, L, R, X, X, Y, Y in that order on the start menu. And this brings back the screen scrolling from the original Super Mario Bros. 1, making it so you literally cannot go backwards. However, this feature does not work in all levels, which makes sense as certain levels would be made impossible by this feature, but it's still kind of disappointing. You can also buy these little designs for the bottom screen, which is a neat touch, but they don't do anything, and they're entirely cosmetic. There's no star world in this game, meaning there's no extra levels after the final boss, which sucks as that was a neat little post-game feature in the other New Super Mario Bros. Games. And that's it! Yeah, New Super Mario Bros. Is pretty short. Not as short as like FNAF, but still relatively short comparing it to like the other New Super Mario Bros. Games. And while the game isn't bad by any means, it's also just not the best in the series either. In all honesty, I think this is the weakest of the 4, which isn't bad by any means, they're all great games. I just think the other 3 games are just better than this one. Now, next up on the list is New Super Mario Bros. Wii, and let me tell you that I cannot wait to cover this game. And you'll see why once that video comes out. But yeah, that's it for now. Oh, wait, there's actually one last thing I forgot to mention. You see, while Luigi has its own unique animations and voice lines for when you're playing as him, they didn't tweak how he controls in comparison to Mario. As in, Mario and Luigi control the exact same in this game. And now I have a reason to consider this game absolute garbage.